Welcome to Powered by Podio. Automation is everything. Supercharge your business with Podio. Get ready for another episode of Supercharged with Jordan Samuel Fleming, your weekly dive into the awesome impact workflow and automation can have on your business when it's powered by Podio. Join us each week as we learn from the top Podio partners in the world, as we investigate system integrations and add-ons, and hear from real business owners who have implemented Podio into their business. Now, join your host Jordan Samuel Fleming, CEO of Game Changers, for this week's episode.
Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Supercharged. I'm your host Jordan Samuel Fleming, here to talk all about the power of workflow and automation when your business is powered by Podio. Now this week I am delighted to be joined by Daniel Schreiber of ValiPod, as well as Cloud Backup for Podio. Now Daniel is a Podio partner. He's someone who has really not only discovered Podio and built it, but also started to build his own extensions for Podio. The first one, of course, being the backup solution, which is available through the Podio integrations page, and I invite you all to check it out. But today we focus in on his newest extension. It's something he's launched, and it's something that we are bringing a special deal for you. You've got that information in the podcast on the page and in the podcast description. This is also one of those episodes where you do want to check it out on YouTube if you can, because we will be sharing our screens. Daniel's going to actually dive into a bit about how his system works and what the power that ValiPod brings to your Podio system. I won't spoil the thunder, but it's a really interesting concept because it allows you to build in quite a bit of data validation rule sets into your Podio ecosystem to ensure that you are guiding people down the path of making the right choices in Podio. You know, making sure that processes are followed, making sure that the information that you need are done in a coherent and consistent manner. It's really interesting, and we dive into that. Daniel shares his screen. He talks a little about how he's developed it, how he got into Podio, and of course, he's blessed us with a bit of a discount for his system. So I do invite you to click down in the description, check it out, try it out, and of course, use the code. As always, please like, subscribe to the YouTube, like the podcast. Give us a review on iTunes, Google Play, where the hell you listen to this. It really does help boost the podcast up and make sure that more people find us and find the power of Podio. Now, we've also got a couple exciting things on the podcast front coming up, and I'm going to be talking about that more over the coming weeks as we develop Supercharged to an even greater height. For now, let's check in on my conversation with Daniel from ValiPod. Let's listen. Your sites, all the things so that I can make sure that you're promoted and that I'm pointing people to the right place. So first of all, like where are you based?
I'm based in Germany, in Offenbach since 4 days. So I just moved from Frankfurt, to the next city. So basically it's Frankfurt.
Okay, so I was going to say, I apologize. I know Frankfurt. I don't know all the towns.
Offenbach is the little nasty sister from Frankfurt, where you move when you want to buy a house and are not so rich.
Yeah, you can't afford Frankfurt, so you go. Yeah. I totally get that. And how long have you been using Podio?
I've been using Podio since 13 actually. Yeah, so we started using Podio when we took over a small startup, my brother, friend, and me, and they used Podio from the beginning. So we kind of inherited Podio for the startup, and we really liked it. So basically everything was based in Podio. So customers, invoices and stuff like this. And yeah, this is how we first got to know Podio basically. And then things evolved from there. So I was in charge of the IT. So I built some custom tooling around this at that time. it seemed like a good idea, or basically we inherited this as well. So we had some Java tooling to create PDFs and have some custom processes, things you would nowadays maybe do differently. um, but yeah, that's how it started.
What was your, I mean, you say you sort of inherited it. In terms of your initial reaction, I mean, sometimes when you inherit systems, you're not necessarily happy about that. What was your initial reaction?
No, I was really happy about it because I mean, of course, the UX is appealing, so it feels good. The impression is good in the first place. Uh, but as well from the technical point of view, I was really happy that we could run our startup on it basically on no costs at that time, and with no additional infrastructure besides our client tooling we had. So this was really cool, and I really fight it to stay it like this because the other people always want to introduce custom databases and stuff like this. And I always said, no, 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 let's stay with Podio because that is manageable and we don't spend like much time building our custom solutions that probably have more bugs and are less stable than Podio is.
So were you using Podio then as a sort of the back end database for custom projects, or were you building custom Podio? I'm maybe I'm a bit confused.
No, we use Podio as a regular Podio tool. So we built custom apps in there. So we had a customer app, an invoice app, and all the so basically as a CRM mainly, I would say. But we had some additional tooling to create PDFs that used the Podio API to integrate. But the day-to-day work was mainly in Podio.
Sure. The reason I ask, and why I immediately found that interesting is I was having a chat the other day with our friends at Brickbridge Consulting, who are a Podio partner as well, and they've been doing a lot of work with Citrix and Citrix Workspace, and using Podio as a system of record backend database for Workspace, where essentially instead of having to build your own whatever SQL tables and do whatever that is, to use Podio like that.
Yeah, this has some limitations, I would say, nowadays. I mean, when you're small, everything is cool and fine, but when you have more data and rate limits come into place and stuff like this, it gets a little bit exhausting.
Well, and search, I mean, regardless of anything else, whether the search API is functioning, either way, you're never going to be able to search through a ton of records fast in lightning speed in Podio. It's just not, it's not built for that. That's not it. So what are the sort of, what do you focus on now then? Like what's the focus now?
So basically now I have two add-ons I built and run as a founder. So the first started basically half a year after we took over the startup, because we had the need for a backup. At that time, 2014, there was basically no backup available from third parties. So I started building something, and I had too much time in that summer, so this got too big. So I needed to make a product out of it because it was more than just a script we could use to have a backup. And this is how the cloud backup for Podio basically came into place. And this got some traction really fast because, of course, other people had the same thoughts about an independent backup. When you have all your data there, you're kind of nervous. I mean, Podio is pretty stable, but still you want to make sure.
Business continuity rules say you should at least have some sort of backup.
And this is basically how we came from using Podio to building solutions for Podio or with Podio. And this is the one add-on, which is running stable, as I said, since like 7 years now. Of course, there are always new features, but the core product is the same. And what is really new and what I'm excited about and what I like to get more people excited about is ValiPod. That's a new add-on which was just launched, and this is add-on where you can create validations for your Podio data. So basically, it allows you to define rules that your apps should comply to. For example, combining different fields. So when this field is empty and the other field has some certain values, then you want to have some warning to give the user an immediate feedback that he might overthink if the input data is correct, basically.
Okay. Oh, well, now my memory is flooding back. First of all, I had either forgotten or I wasn't completely aware that the backup solution was yours. Of course, I can't pretend like I'm the most with it guy sometimes with everybody thing that's going on, but I do know the solution, so that's great. And there are, in my opinion, there are probably 3 big backup solutions that I know of for Podio. All of them do all of them do the job. But ValiPod, I'm really interested in understanding more of. So let's zero in on that one.
Sure.
And can you just give me an understanding, first of all, about forget the technology for a second. We'll get into that. Forget what it does or how it works. Business case wise, why do I care about it? What is the thing? It's going to save me time. It's going to help me in my job. Why is this an important thing?
So for the user, the thing is most people recognize when they have more than like a trivial app, they realize they have some certain rules that are relating to different fields. So for example, when you have a customer, you want to make sure that either the phone number or the email at least is set, because a customer without any contact doesn't make sense. So you find out different rules. There could be tons of examples. And these rules you have as a company, so business rules, and you want to make sure that normally your data complies to these rules, because otherwise at a certain time, when you have data where you don't have a phone number, don't have an email, you cannot contact this customer, you have a problem, you have to dig through emails or whatever, you don't know when this problem occurred. And the idea is that with ValiPod, you can configure these rules easily and make them explicit. Normally, these rules are communicated maybe to new employees via an onboarding process or something, or in some Word document. With this tool, you can explicitly configure these rules, and then this gets built into Podio within computation field basically right now. And this gives immediate feedback. So when you change a customer and remove the phone number and no email is set, immediately it shows you
these are the rules that you're breaking, maybe, or
exactly.
just a warning.
Be aware there's no. So whatever the message, you can configure, of course, the message. So you could have a message saying, please set at least phone or email. This is a trivial example, but I think that is very easy to understand. So now you have the immediate feedback. And now at this point, you already are working at the customer. So it's pretty easy to fix probably this issue. Whereas when you don't have this feedback and it slips through, then at a later point in time, it's very annoying and you have inconsistent data. And I think everybody who has worked a little with Podio knows the problems that arise from this, or the time that it's eating up.
Absolutely. And that, I mean, so do you see that as do you see it as a developer focused product? Do you see it as or more like you don't have to be a developer, because you're actually bringing in those sorts of tools to anybody who's just running a Podio organization and wants to make sure that, staff are dealing with this scenario in this way, right? That's the goal.
Exactly. Of course, if you're a developer, you can do everything by hand in a computation field. You will make many errors that are automatically prevented by configuring it. But so there are these main scenarios that someone who is not so technical to do it themselves can configure it. So basically following the Podio idea to allow people with little technical background to create solutions for themselves. But sure. I think it's interesting as well for Podio professionals and developers because it's so much faster to configure this than programming this, considering all the edge cases. So I, for myself, wouldn't hand code this stuff because it's so much easier to configure it. And as I said, you will find many errors in your hand coded stuff that is covered there.
Wait. Quick commercial. It's June 2021, and I am delighted to say we are launching the Game Changers Supercharged Masterclass series. Have you ever wanted to take your Podio to an even greater level? Well, we are GameChangers.com. Check it out. We will be launching this month a fantastic, completely free masterclass series. Modules that show you how Podio works, how to build automation, how to integrate communication. Basically, we distill a lot of the information and ideas that we've learned from building Podio all over the world for the last 10 years. And as a Supercharged listener, you get access to some great deals if you need a little help activating some of these amazing opportunities in Podio. Check it out, www.wearegamechangers.com. Now let's go back to the podcast. Yeah, it's a shame. I wish I had done a little more due diligence before this podcast episode, mainly because we're now doing video podcasts as well, and so we could have had you share your screen if you've got a screen to share.
We could do that.
Let's do it then, because people let's show them a little overview of this product, and sure. I'd much rather show people, and that way people can see it. If you're listening to this on your phones, Spotify, whatever, please do click on the YouTube link in the podcast recording or on the podcast page, and I will have this shared screen up there as well. So take us through it. Take us through a little overview, a little bit of what we can see.
So basically, first you log in. So assuming you are logged in, so we can do this. You log in with Podio. So there's no need for a custom account here, of course. And then it's pretty straightforward. So you select an app you want to edit. So it's all based on the app, of course, because the feedback, the computation field is in the app as well. So now let's open something where you have already some something which is configured. So now we're in the app deliverables. I think that's some standard Podio app. And here you can create different validations. So here there already something configured. We can do something new. So we can add a new validation. We can define the message. Maybe we do that afterwards when we know what we really did. So assuming we have something, some deliverable which has a status that is equal to, say, in progress. And then we say and, so we can combine always the rules with and or. So we can make up very complex rules in the end if we like to, nesting ands and ors with specific rules for certain fields. So say the status is in progress and the owner is empty, for example. We don't want to have this happen. So everything that is in progress should have an owner. And then the validation message maybe is please set owner when status is in progress.
Okay.
So I haven't made a good plan. So this is just the very simple thing that's coming to my mind.
But it makes sense. I get it. It's like these are, and how many, I see there validation 4. How many validations per app can you have?
So that depends on the plan. So basically we have a free plan that is, I think, covering most needs, where you can have 20 validations for one app. And then with the paid plans, you get like 40 or 50. I should check it on the pricing page. Yeah. So I think that's plenty. If you have so many rules, you should consider.
I was going to say, I think your point is very valid. If you've got that many rules, you need to rethink your entire life anyway.
So that's true. So, and then you can combine this even further. You can say, okay, let's say we have some other case. Now I'm running out of ideas for set the owner when the status is in progress or budget is high. So we can say, no, maybe not global, or we say the status is in progress or the
Yeah.
Budget is say greater than whatever 10K.
I was going to say, the initial use case that I thought of when you started talking about this was
Yeah.
not like, I agree with you when you say, does it have a contact detail? Yeah, that's an easy one, obvious one. I was thinking more, I've got a number of clients who are in the engineering or field state, or where they're providing relatively rapid quotes around margins or anything like that. And to be able to be like, look, we need to make sure our margins are here. And if they're not, we want to like flag, because a lot of times you'll see sales guys undercutting the margins just because it's easy for them to do it. And then they kind of have this opinion like, I'll do it and I'll say sorry, but at least I've got the gig. Whereas this sort of makes it like, hey, we did tell you. That's what went into my head. I like it.
Yeah, that's a really good case to make sure people really immediately see what they are doing and cannot pretend they didn't see. Yeah. So you can configure like different rules for different field types. I mean, I don't want to go into all the details maybe here. But I think, of course, there's always some more things one could imagine feature-wise, but I think this is already covering like all the main stuff. And when you configure this, then you can publish this to Podio, and then that's basically automatically codes for you the computation field in the background. If everything goes right.
This is always danger. Nothing like a live demo on the spot.
And now we can
go straight there.
Go there and have some test deliverable here. And I don't know, what did we just configure? We said we want to have an owner, I think, when we are in progress. So I remove the owner. I don't know about this rule. I remove this owner, and zack, here we see the validation is showing our validation message, basically.
I like it. I like it.
I like it that you like it.
I like it. So that's and do you actually so you install that field? Is that the only, like, are all the validations there in essence?
Yes, of course. So you can, if you want to look, for all the developers, it's of course possible to check out this validation field, but this, of course, has some complexity. So you do not modify, you see here. So of course, breaks.
Well, that's how. Like, what are we gonna do about that? Sometimes, I mean, with smartphone, we get people occasionally like they'll delete the communications app, and you're like, well, I don't know what you expect me to tell you.
No, I mean, you can remove this field, so basically you can redeploy it, and then it's there again. So it's not totally disaster, but you have to think about it when you fiddle with it. So basically that's the core thing. And what I really like about it, that it's employing the Podio feature of the computation field. So it's basically little infrastructure on our side. So that's why we can provide this for free in the basic version. And it stays like this. So this is something I really want to emphasize. So it's a tool you could use without additional cost, basically.
That's now, just out of curiosity, I mean, obviously with your you've got another extension as well, another Podio extension, and I'm familiar with the model of building extensions off of Podio. I think it's a really interesting market that that Podio has, that's quite powerful in some ways. How have you do you see yourself kind of transitioning the business as an extension management, or is this kind of is this a part of it that you really like as a side part?
Currently, I mean, something in between. Currently, it's the latter one, so it's something more of an aside. But of course, when things really grow, it's always an option. But personally, this is something which has some risk because you're totally dependent in the end on the API and Podio. So it's not something I would build my complete career on. I mean, I really trust Podio and like it, but it's always kind of a risk to be relying on one platform, so to say.
Well, yeah, no, I totally understand that, and what I really like this, you know, I like this idea of the ValiPod in essence for those little process elements that also end up killing your Podio automations, right? Because one of the problems, like there are two parts of this. One, there's the business element of it, which is I'm running a business process. I need the business to function this way. I need these rules to be followed because if they're not, then we're fucked and like the business, we're not making any money or whatever. That's definitely one bit. But the second bit is Podio. I sometimes think that people sometimes build a bit of a house of cards with Podio, if that makes sense, where you can build a automation that is very much determined on X happening or Y happening, and these kind of validations could just make sure that those automations as well are firing in the best possible way, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I completely get what you mean. I mean, of course, this basically is making sure constraints are always holding true. I think the other part about the temporal side, so event A is after or before event B, this is something which is not covered by the ValiPod, I think. So
Yeah.
you have no notion of before and after. You just have the current state, and this is a valid state or an invalid state, or complies to some validations. If
Okay.
that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So now in terms of ValiPod, then it's people can go right now to valley-pod pod.io.
Right.
They can go ahead, set up with the free account, try it out, etc. And then I would encourage people to check it out. I'll put the link into the podcast and send us some feedback about it, because I'll be honest, I've not used it yet. I remember it was being launched. I took a quick look and I just didn't get into it as much as I want to. I will go ahead and try it out at some point and give it to my team. Do you see, I mean, just out of curiosity, I know I 100% agree with you on the dangers of building things off of platforms, but do you see any other interesting opportunities as it is right now for new, as sort of maybe as things are progressing inside of the Podio ecosystem? I've always been on the lookout for interesting kind of new opportunities for extensions. Are there anything that sort of ideas you've had that you can chat about without giving away something you're working on?
No, I have something. Basically, it's related to ValiPod because before in the ideation phase, we had some bigger idea where I realized I don't have the resources to build. So we can talk about this because I think, I mean, if you go one step further, you have this things in Podio, and you have, of course, you can do very many things with automations. But let's be honest, like most organizations don't monitor where we could have an automation and stuff like this. They just have some manual processes all the time. Mm-hmm. And basically you could have an extension, or the idea would be to build an extension that is monitoring all the events in some workspace app, whatever, and recognizing repeating patterns. So you could have some machine learning there and realize, okay, always when the customer is set to status bad, whatever, then afterwards we delete the contract or whatever. So you could find patterns in the actual usage and then
optimize.
Recommend the user to create workflows for this, or so basically, to create Globy flows for it that could resolve these manual workflows. This was something I was thinking about, and this is kind of the same direction as the ValiPod, because with ValiPod you can at least make sure the constraints are right, but with this bigger tool, you could even automatically make sure the constraints are right. of course, this is some piece of work.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, it's a fascinating thing, and I think it's, I think it'd be. I'd love to. Maybe I'll organize a group. It's funny. I was just speaking to some guys the other day about this year's Podio Partner Conference, because we've been doing it. I've been running the European one for the last 7 years or something, and we used to do it in Copenhagen, and then the world stopped traveling. And last year, we did a really fun online one, which involved Podio partners, but also some just people who were interested in Podio and developed some users, which was really fun. It would be great to have a little roundtable Podio extension brainstorm, right? Like almost like a hackathon type thing where we're sitting there. Get 8 people, and they'll need to be much smarter than me, into a chat and really explore some ideas, because I'll bet you there'd be 2 or 3 really interesting potentials that come out of that. And I could say, I mean, certainly as smartphone has taken off and grown into a pretty decent business now. So there's certainly, and I know, I'm sure that there's of the sort of 20 to 40 extensions, I would guess there's probably a dozen of them that are making decent money.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, because I think this Podio add-ons and extensions is a cool market, because it's not so big that like hundred thousands of people think about it, but there's as well some needs and some actual customers which are potential. So all Podio customers are potential customers of extensions. So it's an interesting market in general, I think.
Absolutely. And I think you struck a chord there. I like the idea of maybe getting a group podcast together where we just dream up ideas for some great extensions, because I'll bet you we could form some really interesting things. I bet you we've all got the talent to deliver them. And I do find that the extensions make Podio. GlobiFlow made Podio. I mean,
totally.
Without GlobiFlow, Podio, and I totally get why Citrix bought GlobiFlow. I mean, it made 100% sense. But the extensions and the ability to drive the little blue box even harder, with this sort of ValiPod and the backup and all these things, these extensions really provide a lot of value. It'd be fun to do that. I'll float that to a bunch of people, and I'll let you know. Maybe we can do a podcast special roundtable.
Yeah, sure. I would be happy to join you with that.
Absolutely. Well, I will warn you that we tend to do our group podcasts in the evening European time that we can get all the PST, so it's usually us sitting here. Last group podcast, Mike Dementer had a beer. Sadly, I was in the office, so I couldn't, but at least we can have a beer while we have these sort of podcasts.
Sure. That's good for the creativity.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Daniel, first of all, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Second, I want to thank you for sharing your screen and showing us this. I think it's really interesting, and I recommend people take a look at it. The idea of setting these sorts of validations up so that your data, your processes are controlled and executed properly is a really interesting one. And I recommend you take a look at that. I think there's some really fun things about that. I will post links in the podcast page and in the podcast description to make sure you can get here, and really to make sure that people get a chance to try it out. Anything else, like any other little final tidbits you want? Any kind of closing words from yourself to round us off?
No, I have.
I put you on the spot, mate.
Yeah, no, I was just dreaming about creative group sessions, but no, I have some discount for the premium plan prepared for this podcast.
Perfect.
So if you have we didn't talk about the pricing, though. The pricing, just to make this thing clear, as I said, the free thing should cover like many and most cases. The paid plans, this is a yearly plan, so monthly prices are more appealing, I think. It's basically if you want to have rules for attachments and files, because this requires, of course, some infrastructure on our side, and this is why this needs to be covered costs for. So if you want to have rules like when you have an attachment with file name .pdf or something, or with invoice, or you don't have an attachment with some certain name, rules like this require the paid plan. And for the premium plan, so the standard plan is per month and organization. Premium plan is unlimited organizations.
I like it.
And for the premium plan, for the standard plan, I cannot make a good coupon because that's not working with the payment integrator. So sorry for that. So it's only for the premium plan, but there's with the supercharged discount coupon, it's like 40% off.
Well, I tell you what, right away, the premium plan looks like a great plan. And I will put these details. I'll get these details from you. Make sure they're completely clear on the web, on the Podio, the page, and on the podcast description.
Perfect.
It's a fantastic opportunity to try it out, guys. And also the premium plan, I will say, for those of you who aren't watching this on YouTube, although please do so that you can see the screen share and see what ValiPod does. The premium plan, if I'm reading this correctly, you can have unlimited Podio organizations. So if you are a Podio developer and you want to make sure that you're that you're making it easier to validate some of the processes you're building, that's a very, very strong plan for you.
Exactly. And you can use it for the your customers' organizations as well if you're building stuff like this. I've talked to some partners that are hand coding this stuff, so you could save some time in using this tool, I imagine, or I hope. I mean,
absolutely.
And maybe as a final remark, I would say that, of course, as this was launched just earlier this year, feedback is always welcome. So when you encounter something that is you expect otherwise, or you're missing some feature, please reach out to me. There's some contact here somewhere, and then we will figure out some solution for this.
Absolutely. Well, and feedback, that's one great thing as well. I've found about the Podio audience is you're able to crowdsource feedback very, very easily, with the Podio sort of ecosystem. And I think that's great. Well, I'm excited to try this out. I'm excited to get it in the hand of my developers. Everyone, I will post these links up. I will also post the discount code that Daniel has helpfully given us. And I encourage everyone to check it out. For now, Daniel, I want to thank you so much. I look forward to a group brainstorm involving you. Thank you for showing us ValiPod. I really appreciate that. And I will hopefully talk to you soon.
Thanks, John. It was very nice talking to you and very interesting with your input.
You've been listening to Supercharged with Jordan Samuel Fleming. Subscribe today on iTunes, Google Play, or Spotify for your weekly dive into how you can supercharge your business by making it powered by Podio. Be sure to check out our website, wearegamechangers.com, where you can learn more and arrange a 30-minute call with Jordan to help you understand how Podio supercharges you.